The main event can make or break a show. It doesn't matter how good the undercard is, if the main event's a stinker, the entire event can be tainted.
Here on Main Event Maniacs, we will revisit some of the most memorable main events in sports entertainment history, good and bad across various promotions and eras of professional wrestling. I'm Jay, and Brian, we're here in familiar territory, at least for the two of us this time.
That's right, Jay. We are here to talk about the match everyone's been waiting for. Or maybe not. But we certainly have. Today we cover SummerSlam 1989 and the time that Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake battled the Macho Man Randy Savage and Tiny Lister. Oh, I mean Zeus.
Yeah, what we're referring to is go search the archives of Film Strip Podcast, episode 19, when we was just a little baby podcast. Brian and I reviewed the Hulk versus Zeus movie, No Holds Barred, which is its own set of wackiness to get into for sure. But if you don't know who Tiny Lister is, if you've seen Friday, the movies, Debo, friends, or if you've seen The Dark Knight, he's the big hulking prisoner on the boat at the end that makes the right decision with the triggers and the bombs and stuff like that. You've seen him and stuff. You see the guy's face, you're like, oh, I know that dude. By all accounts, was the sweetest man ever, and it's been gone for a while now. But back in these days, he was this cartoon monster that the WWF wanted us to think was going to literally kill Hulk Hogan. And I think he tried to in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. No Holds Barred was one of the very first podcasts that you and I did together. And I still think it's one of the best episodes we've ever done together. It is a riot. And once a year, I'll go back and listen to it again because it makes me laugh so hard. We just tore into that movie and it was wonderful.
Well, it deserves to be torn into. I mean, look, that movie's it's a B movie at best. What's wild is it got like a 4K Blu-ray release recently and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah,
I bought it.
I cannot imagine what that looks like that. But it's no, you should go check that out if you're not familiar with the story of No Holds Barred. It's been told in a few podcasts out there. You can check that out, but you should investigate that, folks, because it is hilarious. But no, we're talking about one of the times when they put this guy in the ring and tried to make it. If you're a current wrestling fan and you get kind of mad when the latest hip hop star goes in a little hard on somebody, they've been doing this for years with people that don't know what they're doing. All right. Because every wrestling promoter, and I want to remind people of this, remember, this is a carnival business, y'all, and they are always looking for the next sideshow attraction to try to get tickets and get people interested in something. And at this point in the WWF, we were doing anything we could to try to make it fun, make it interesting, make it new.
I really want to know what the pitch was to Tiny Lister to say, hey man, this movie was real fun and stuff, but why don't you actually come to the ring and we'll make tons of cash. We're gonna, just battle each other out like we did in the movie. It'll be awesome.
I'm sure he looked at it as work.
I'm sure they paid him very well.
To do this? At that point in his life, he was trying to break in as an actor, but he hadn't really done anything of note. It would really be the late 90s before he got to do anything. I'm sure he looked at this as just good work. And he was a buff dude. He kind of, he liked working out. I'm sure he got a kick out of this by all accounts. And he's like the thing you got to know about Tiny Lister, this is maybe surprise. He's a big guy, right? So you think football player or something like that? No, he was a shot putter in college, and he won the Division II national championship when he was in college in the early '80s. So he threw it 61 feet, which nowadays probably isn't anywhere near the record. But at the time, imagine taking the Stiegel ball that is a shot put, and you do the whole spin and throw, which also, if they knew that about him and he didn't do a spinning punch, is the dumbest thing in the world. But we'll get into the booking of Zeus. But yeah, I'm sure he looked at this as work, man. So at that point, he hadn't been out of college more than I think 6 years. So he was still a young fella.
So you're saying Jim Neidhart got him to come in?
Maybe he did. We don't know. I would love to hear the stories of how he was trained. I don't know if Conrad would ever listen to the show, and he shouldn't. But if you are Conrad, please ask Bruce that someday. I would love to know.
I'm actually surprised they haven't done a whole episode on this whole thing.
They've talked about No Holds Barred before. They talked about the production of the movie,
bringing him in and all that.
They haven't talked about him much, other than just the side. He was a nice guy, whatever. I'm sure they're not going to bury him because, again, by all accounts, he was a good dude. But I would love to hear it too. I would love to hear, like, how did that work? And moreover, what did he think of this? Because that's the fun thing nowadays with a lot of what WWE is doing in particular is, they're pulling back the curtain more and more. And, we can talk about, is that good, bad, or indifferent on another day. But the fact that they're doing that, they're getting that insight from people about, like, here's what this feels like. Oh, I thought it was going to be like this. It's so much more like this. I find that kind of stuff fascinating.
Oh, me too.
And even like the Netflix quarterback shows and stuff like that, like you really don't know what those people do until you see it, and you're like, it's a lot more intense than I thought it was going to be. And I would be curious to see what it would be like for somebody who is an athlete but is not a sports entertainment, professional, to be thrown into that and have to figure it out, on the fly too. And let's talk about 1988, 1989, Brian, if we shall. It wasn't exactly the most well-run machine.
No, let's get into this. What happened? What brought this together other than a movie? So Hulk Hogan, after 3.5 years as champion, has finally lost his title belt in the twin referee scandal of 1988. Something we need to cover at some
We've
point.
got to get back to that. Yes.
After going to a draw in the title tournament at WrestleMania 4, Hogan did leave for a little bit to film his first leading role movie, No Holds Barred. As we said, it is a cult classic, and you should totally listen to Jay and my review of this in the Filmstrip podcast. It is a must-hear. Anyway, with filming wrapped up in May of 1988, Hogan returned to form the Mega Powers with Randy Savage, and they teamed up against several opponents the rest of the year. Then, at the Royal Rumble in 1989, Hogan, quote-unquote, accidentally eliminated Randy Savage from the match, setting up their eventual WrestleMania 5 showdown titled The Mega Powers Collide.
One of the greatest no-sells in the main event history, by the way, in that match.
Hogan regained the belt, and the movie was set to be released in June of 1989. It was then decided that Zeus would come into the WWF to confront Hogan as a crossover for the movie. And on the May 27th episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, Hogan was scheduled to take on the Big Boss Man in a steel cage match. But before it could begin, Zeus was waiting and beat Hogan down outside the ring.
We should mention real quick too that, like, I'm not going to speak ill of Tiny Lister because, again, he obviously had a limited amount of skill to do this and was only given so much. We don't even know what training he got, but he really had 3 moves, one of which was a snarl, and the other was like beating you over the like trapezius with his wrists, and a bear hug. And I think those were the things he could figure out how to do. But I remember that though, watching that Saturday Night's Main Event and going, the guy from the movie showed up. Oh my gosh. And he just beat the crap out of Hogan. It was hilarious because, Boss Man wasn't going to do it. So we all knew like that was going to end one way. That was back when you had to crawl over the cage to win too. That was the blue cage.
Crawl over or come out the door. Yes.
Yeah.
Hogan always crawled over. I think you and I might be one of the only 2 people in the world who actually knew who Zeus was.
Yeah. I had seen the movie. Yeah, I knew.
Me too. Anyway, Hogan would, of course, defeat the Boss Man in the ring. No big deal. But the battle had just begun. Zeus would then form an alliance with the Macho Man Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry when he attacked Brutus Beefcake on the July 29th edition of Saturday Night's Main Event. And it appeared Beefcake was about to defeat Savage when Zeus came down and beat the tar out of Beefcake. Hogan would come to the aid, but of course could not bring the big monster Zeus down, including with a chair, by the way. Savage and Sherry with Zeus would then make a challenge to Beefcake and Hogan to meet them in the ring. Hogan and Beefcake would accept, and now that brings us to SummerSlam.
Now, real quick for the uninitiated, Brian, 30 seconds on who into hell is Brutus the Barber Beefcake, if anyone doesn't know.
Oh, man. Beefcake was... It's going to take me more than 30 seconds. Let me say here. Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine were one of the greatest tag teams in the early 80s or mid 80s in the WWE. He gets a lot of crap because he was Hulk Hogan's buddy, blah, 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 blah. But they were so over when they were wrestling against the British Bulldogs, and that series of matches that they had were so good. But then things just kind of fell apart, and they didn't know what to do with him, so they gave him a barber gimmick.
Like a barber stripper
barber
gimmick.
Beefcake.
So,
Yeah, it was...
it was like the Chippendales craze had taken off, so we were getting a little bit of that.
Chippendales outfit, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And He
What
apparently liked to cut hair.
What's funny about the way Ed Leslie, Brutus Beefcake, and Greg the Hammer Valentine, who I usually called the Hammered Valentine, they do not look like professional wrestlers, like what we would know of, even of the time. They look like guys from the 70s. These barrel-chested dudes, that probably could put away a 12-pack and then go beat the crap out of you for 45 minutes. This is who they were. But they both had a lot of technical ability. That's what's wild about them, is for their weird gimmicks or their non-gimmicks in Valentine's case, they had a lot of technical ability, but they were mid-card guys. They were not main event guys. But every now and then they would get to hook on with somebody like Hogan or Savage or whatever, and they would get into these main event spots. So it's always fun to watch that of the air. They still do that to this day. They'll tag up people with somebody to try to give them the push and see if there's anything there. And again, the carnival business hasn't changed that much, but it's fun to remember that. But yeah, for anybody who's a little bit younger, maybe you don't know who Beefcake is, go Google Brutus Beefcake. Let's be careful about that, and then just put that in your YouTube machine and see what you get. But no, the wild thing was he had the little scissors and he would do a lot of hair matches.
Yeah.
Obviously the gimmick, but he had like edge clippers.
Yeah,
I
that he'd always
remember-
chomp, chomp, chomp.
And
Yeah.
I remember like helping my dad work in the yard on the hedges, specifically because he saw me watching that. He's like, "Oh, you want to see how those really work?" Months later, economy.
No.
Well, I didn't mind. I liked yard work, but anyway, it's just funny to think about Brutus Beefcake. So yeah, you've set us up into the thing. So SummerSlam, this is only the second SummerSlam ever. It's
Right.
wild to think about. Now SummerSlam is a 2-night event, which blows my mind that we're doing that. But this was an up and coming like thing that they were trying to do. Like they felt like, okay, we got a gap here between Mania and Survivor Series. We need to do something. This was back when PLEs or pay-per-views, they were like 4 a year, and so how do we get another one? And this was the WWF's answer to like, we need something in late summer before school gets cranked back up, before Labor Day weekend. What can we do? SummerSlam. And whoever probably Vince or whoever came up with that, what a killer word to like just tag and use for an event. SummerSlam. It works perfectly.
Well, if you ever know the story of WrestleMania, that was a Howard Finkel came up with that because Vince McMahon wanted to call it some stupid colossal collision or something like that, some dumb name, and everyone was like, no, that sounds awful. And for some reason, Howard Finkel spoke up and said, well, they had Beatlemania. Why don't we have WrestleMania? And that's how WrestleMania is. So did Vince McMahon come up with SummerSlam? Probably not, actually.
I
It was
don't know.
probably someone else. But
Now,
it was
if you
genius.
asked anybody, The Rock probably came up with it.
Well, if you asked The Rock, he did.
Yeah, but SummerSlam is a great moniker for an event. I will
It
say
is.
that. And I remember the first SummerSlam, and then coming into this one, we're like, all right, second SummerSlam, it's got to be big. So they're going to East Rutherford, New Jersey for this one. This is in the Brendan Byrne Arena, biggest party of the summer, And if you don't know what the Brendan Byrne Arena is, it used to be called the Continental Airlines Arena or the Meadowlands Arena or the Izod Center or some other nonsense, but it was the thing next door to where the Giants and the Jets used to play. And now, still the new Meadowlands is there. But it holds NBA basketball, the Nets played there for a long time, and at this point, this is where they were playing. And so before they became the Brooklyn Nets, they were the New Jersey Nets. The Devils played there in the NHL. A lot of concerts, number of things. It's just a big arena, but holds about 20,000, and they sold the sucker out. So good on them. Pay-per-view buy rate was about a 4.8, which was like 600,000 homes, which was above from 400,000 the year before. That doesn't sound like a lot, maybe, because nowadays like everything's like got to be $5 billion or whatever. But that was a lot of people buying an off cycle pay-per-view. That was a lot. So they built the heck out of this, man. It was major for SummerSlam, and a lot of growth too.
Yeah, you have to remember that back then, pay-per-view was still in its infancy. It's not what it is today. And so a lot of people didn't have the ability to get pay-per-view back then. So 400,000 people coming in and watching, or 600,000 people, I should say, coming in and watching this show was a big deal for them. That's a large number, and it remains a large number all the way through the 90s, right?
Oh yeah, no, they killed. Well, now it's hard to even tell because you got Peacock, you got all this other stuff going on. But back when, like you said, it was harder to get That was a great number. And again, it was up a ton, in growth, almost a fourth or above from where it was. So again, a lot of good ticket gate, not a lot of paper. They did a good job of selling this out. The New York, New Jersey area is a big area for the WWF. WWE still is. So they wisely stuck it in a place where, like, okay, we're going to draw, and they're going to catch people on that, again, the Jersey Shore crowd, coming in last bit of the summer, all the stuff. Commentary, we got Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura. And I asked you this offline, but I'll ask you on the show now. Off mic, how many times do you think these guys told each other to F off? Because the anti-chemistry these guys have together is legendary.
Oh man, every time I watch a WCW show where they're commenting together, I always think that they're just totally ribbing each other the whole show, because they just go back and forth and barb each other constantly. It's crazy. Now this Schiavone was newer in the WWF at the time. Like, he had only just arrived not very long before this. And so, he's playing the nice guy here, but Ventura probably was like, who is this buffoon sitting next to me?
This redneck sitting
where's
next to me.
Gorilla? Bring him back out here.
Well, Gorilla's in gorilla position, as we know. But no, it is funny to hear Tony in the commentary. But he's young, and if you like Schiavone, which I still love Schiavone, he's fun on it. You got Fink and Ronnie Garvin doing ring announcing. Didn't know that ever happened.
Well, only because of the feud with Greg Valentine.
Yeah. Which, again, Ronnie Garvin's one of those guys that looks like he's definitely from a different decade than what is happening right at that moment. And then of course you got Mean Gene and Sean Mooney, a young Sean Mooney, is the backstage interviewer.
Oh, I love Sean Mooney.
Oh yeah, he's a lot of fun. But you go Mean Gene, you can't beat Mean Gene. And no. So we got all the setup to head in, and it's a heck of a card. I'll give them credit for that. It's a heck of a card on paper. We'll talk about how the matches go. Now I'm going to say this, and I'm going to sound like I'm being mean here, all right? And maybe I am. These are great ideas for matches. How they got executed is probably a stuff of legend somewhere in the backstage and stuff. So you got the Brainbusters, which is Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, one of my favorite tag teams, two of my favorite guys, performers ever, who at the time were tag team champs. They took on the Hart Foundation. They won it, but it's a non-title match because they made the match before the Brainbusters were champions, for they'd taken it off of Demolition, which always fascinated me as a kid. I'm like, isn't wrestling like you can just make a title match whenever. You don't have to have is it legally binding? Even at that age, 13, I was wondering, does this really count? It was just wild, but they kept harping on that point, which was wild in this. But this is probably the best match on the card, I'll be honest with you. It's really, really good. It's a great opener because, again, everybody in the match can work their ass off.
How could it not be a great opener? My only question is, even though they harp on the fact that the Brainbusters just beat the Demolition for the titles, why not have the Hart Foundation go over to set up a feud for the titles?
Or let the Brainbusters win by DQ, or something,
Yeah.
or count out, and then, you set them up. I think because the plan was always to swing it back to Demolition, but,
Well,
yeah.
probably.
Anyway, but the booking we'll get to. Dusty Rhodes in his polka dot outfit, which is not a rib, beat the Honky Tonk Man. And after Jimmy Hart smashed a guitar over Honky's head inadvertently, which did lead to some good comedy afterward, but as a match, not so grand. But
And we're 1 year removed from Honky losing his Intercontinental Championship to the Ultimate Warrior at the previous SummerSlam after holding it for the longest reign up until recently when Gunther passed him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he held that for a long time. So, and great mid-card performer again, still going out there these days as of this recording. It's wild. Mr. Perfect, who I once met in an elevator, very nice guy, beat Red Rooster, also not a rib, Terry Taylor, in a match where you can legit see Terry Taylor blow his ACL and then still wrestle for 3 or 4 minutes afterward. And I don't know if they've edited it now, but I can never tell when they call and go we got to go home. You can tell they end it early because they start fluffing, afterward and that. And I don't know when they made that call, but they both did it well. But at this point, Perfect's on his way up. He's just starting to get doing stuff. Kurt Hennig is such a great performer. And look, Terry Taylor had dumb gimmicks, but he could wrestle, and he taught a lot of good wrestlers for years how to do stuff. And it was an okay match for what it was. But I give him credit for continuing to go after clearly that knee is gone.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm sure it was all adrenaline, and then once he finally came down and realized what happened, that's probably when they said, "Hey, I think I'm actually hurt here. We need to go home now.
Yeah.
But Terry Taylor's what you would call a great hand in wrestling,
Yeah.
right? Can work, but just couldn't get over the hump to get over enough. Now, this Red Rooster gimmick, I'm gonna say, was actually pretty over with the crowd, and that's sad to say, but it was.
It's a kid gimmick. It's a kid
It,
gimmick.
it
Yeah.
was, and you remember he was the Red Rooster, the bad guy with Bobby Heenan when he came in, and
Hmm.
his gimmick got over so well that they made him a good guy because of it.
They
What the
made
hell?
the guy cock a doodle doo in his
Oh,
friggin' promos.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we've all done things for
He
paychecks.
embraced
So
it, man. He embraced
I
it.
give him credit for it, no doubt. Rick Martel and the Fabulous Rougeaus defeated Tito Santana and the Rockers, a very young Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, in a six-man tag match. Well, the one of two that we'll get tonight. When that was I mean, six-mans had been a thing, but then they were starting to come back at this point, and now you feel like you get them every week on TV. But was an okay match, not bad. I mean, Martel and Santana, of course, had been in Strike Force, and their feud just went on forever. Whenever they needed something to do, they let the two of them go at each other. And the Rougeaus and the Rockers had been back and forth for a little while. I thought the Rockers were going to go over in this. I mean, they looked great in it, but they ended up eating the pin.
Well, the Rockers had some issues behind the scenes that led to things like that. And they got fired, what, twice, I think, from
At
the
least,
WWF?
at
Yeah,
least.
before finally kind of fixing their shit. I don't know. But, the Rougeaus are an
Emphasis on
interesting,
kind of.
yeah. The Rougeaus are an interesting group. Like, they were real tough guys. Real
They were
tough
kind of like the
guys.
Canadian New Day. That's kind of what they
Well,
were.
I mean,
but
they
not
were
nearly as over.
they were two badasses who could hold their own. There's some legendary stuff about them and the British Bulldogs
Oh no!
backstage.
As
Oh
far as being
man,
tough, for sure, but the way that they gimmicked out was what's funny about it. But
yeah.
again, like
And
you
then,
said, good hands.
Didn't they come down here with the American flags? Is that this one where they
I
had the
think
American
so. I think that's
flags
what.
and the crowd's booing them?
Yeah, they're all waking out over that.
That's
So
good shit.
yeah, Rick Martel always a lot of fun too. Good wrestler, and again
Rick
another
Martel's
guy
great.
that yeah, just from a different era, but I'm an incredible wrestler. And again, him and Tito put on and listening to Jesse just refer to him as Chico every time. I know it's terrible, but it's hilarious. So
Is this right before he became the model too?
I think so. It's right. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, where's
Shortly
this
after this, he comes to model. Yeah.
Wait, and he started hanging out with the Genius and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, we didn't get that until a little bit later. The Intercontinental title match is next. The Ultimate Warrior winning the title back from Rick Rude with an assist from Roddy Piper, that shocked me as a kid when I saw this. Roddy Piper flashing him with through under his kilt. And look, you watch these things and look, as a kid, I was as into the Warrior as anybody, and now you watch it and you realize like, man, the people that they put him with carried him in such amazing ways. And Rick Rude carried him in every step of this match. It was so great.
Rick Rude made the Ultimate Warrior look like he could wrestle.
Oh my
and the
gosh,
same
he
with Hulk
did.
Hogan. Like,
Yeah.
when there's two people that made the Ultimate Warrior look amazing. Well, actually three, I would say: Savage, Hogan, and Rick Rude. Anytime those three men would wrestle against Ultimate Warrior, somehow they brought out the best in the Ultimate Warrior. Every time. Like Rick Rude, it was WrestleMania 5 when he won the title from Ultimate Warrior. Now SummerSlam, he wins it back. Now Ultimate Warrior is going to go on to win the world title, and they'll have a killer feud again with each other for that world championship. And I don't know what it was, but Rick Rude has some either got to the Warrior and told him, hey, you need to chill, or he's a glutton for punishment, because working with the Warrior, not a fun thing.
If you ever listened to Bobby Heenan say, he said, that's just how good Rick was. He said,
Yeah.
it didn't matter what got said before when you got in that ring, because the Hill caused the match. Rick, people listened to him. I think because legitimately he probably would have knocked your teeth out if he could have killed him. He was a pretty tough dude. And I think it was one of those guys that commanded respect, because if you listened to him, you were going to look like $1 million. And all the heat was going to be on him. So when you smashed him, people were going to go bonkers for it. And Rick Rude is one of those guys who did not care that he was the heel. He loved being the heel. Didn't bother him. Check cashes the same way. And so Somebody's got to do it. Let it be me. And I'm with you. His feuds with the Warrior are the best things the Warrior ever had. And
Yeah.
but this is a pretty good match. And again, Roddy Piper getting in there because you get Piper and Rude, for a little bit. They have a little program afterward. Not a bad match, but again, it's mostly because Rick Rude's awesome. Then you get Jim Duggan and Demolition, which is a terrible combination of people ever to put together against Andre Giant and Akeem and the Big Boss Man, the Twin Towers. The amount of weight in that ring, I don't know how it withstood it. Because those things are
called
not
out by the commentators in this one too.
Yes, many
how's
times.
that ring gonna hold this much weight?
Your video game would break the ring if you tried this today. These are some large men smashing each other for reasons, but not the greatest. Good idea. Again, great idea of a match. Then you see it and you're like, so it didn't go great. And then Greg the Hammered Valentine beat Hercules because that's totally believable in 3 minutes.
No, man, Hercules beat him. According to Ron Garvin by DQ.
Yeah. So that's all. Again, the angle is trying to set up the continuing the Garvin and Valentine situation, and then we get the $1 Million Man beating Jimmy Snuka by count out because we got to waste some time before the big main event. But okay, again on paper a cool card, in execution, it's a little mixed. I'm not gonna lie.
Two good matches.
Yeah.
Two good matches.
And they're spaced between each other with a lot of spam in between. Yeah. But we finally get to the big one, the big main event. And if you think entrances take a long time now, people, they've always taken a long time. The songs are just not as singable along too as they, back here as they were then. But I mean, everybody got an entrance. Everybody got an entrance, including Elizabeth, who came in late for this. Like everybody got an entrance for this, man.
Yeah, it was kind of to make up for the fact that these matches just didn't go very long.
Nope.
Do you have the time on this one? I can't remember what the time on this one was.
It's timed for 15 minutes. And
okay.
It's a lot of...
That's pretty good for them at this time.
For these 4 people, that's a long time. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because of Randy Savage.
Yeah.
We've talked about Rick Rude carrying. Randy Savage just carries 6 people in this match. That's all he has to do is make everybody look great. And
he does.
He does because he's one of the greatest of all time. So, yeah.
You know what's funny about Randy Savage is like he was so meticulous that he wanted to map out every single move in a match and have you memorize it so that it all went according to plan. He hated
knew
when
yours
it went
and
off
his.
script. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Now, look, Tiny, I need you to do this at this moment. If you're messing up again, I swear to God, I'm gonna step on your feet. Sherry, I swear if that guy moves one more time. Now, Sherry was another one too. Yeah, we got even sensational Sherry's credit here. Man, great heel manager, and could work her on her own too. She wasn't half bad in an era when women were absolutely sidelined. In this business, she was a lot of fun.
It's really too bad that she was in the era where women's wrestling was second nature and nobody cared and they just didn't give them any. There was no TV time, very rarely any pay-per-view time. If they wrestled at all, it would be before a show aired or anything like that, because people like Medusa Michelli and Sherry Martel worked so well. And people didn't get to see that. Now, Sherry got a couple matches here and there. Unfortunately, they'd be against terrible wrestlers like Sweet Sapphire and stuff like that. But she took the managerial role and drove with it. And she was probably the best manager WWF ever had.
Oh no, Bobby Heenan's probably
as a woman.
As a woman, no, I agree. Yeah. Female manager.
They tried it with numerous people. Sunny, Miss Elizabeth was great, but she didn't really do anything. Sable, all those women were great, but Sherry was next level.
Well, Sherry was the template for all those things. I mean, I think it's what you realize, and everybody has said so too. But her and Savage had great chemistry together too. They could sell that evil couple, and they've leaned into that. And again, like you say, Randy's so meticulous, and he's going to get everything down. And look, to his credit, Hogan at this point was at the top of his game. This is as good as it ever got, until he had a resurgence in the NWO. But even then, everybody will tell you like his working, like he was so beat up at that point. It was more about the shock of I still can't believe Hulk Hogan's a bad guy that carried that for a long time, and everybody else in the ring, he was still working hard. Beefcake's working his butt off because he's not in this spot very much, and then you got the actor who doesn't know what he's doing in here.
I mean, and he didn't really have to do much, like, right?
Well,
He
he
came
just
in.
had to no sell a lot. That was kind of
exactly.
his gimmick. Yeah, and
here's my
do his
thing.
2 moves. Yeah,
Here's my thing, right? They present Zeus as this guy who's impenetrable, undefeatable. Why does Macho Man even bother getting in the ring? Just let Zeus beat the shit out of everyone.
exactly. And I would say too, like it was obviously they were blowing this off because they were done with this, after this or whatever. But the fact that Zeus ultimately has to eat the pin in this, like,
Of course he does.
I mean, I guess, but
It
I
would have
don't know.
been
We'll get
smart.
there.
It would have been smart. Like this isn't the end of this feud, and we'll talk about that. It would have been smarter if they had Savage eat the pin in this, because then Hogan hasn't defeated Zeus yet, right?
Right. You can keep
Right?
that going.
Yes, keep that going. But now that Hogan's actually pinned Zeus, like, what more does he have to prove?
He's pinned him, and if you've seen the movie, he's killed him because he throws him through a building. So I mean, he's beat him in every possible way. I don't know how we can keep going. I mean, really though, this is the. It is a fun thing to watch because if you watch like notes on every note I have is like Savage does this, Savage, Randy Savage is running this match. He's running into
Savage
ragged.
is so sweaty, and
He
he
is
does
worn
such a
out.
great job in this match. And it makes it watchable, right? It makes it absolutely watchable, and that's the reason it goes 15 minutes. Because if it was just Zeus, it'd be like 5 minutes and we're done. But they did a good job, covering up for the fact that Zeus is really limited in what he can do. He came in and did his moves, did his things. The one that got me though is like they've hit him with a chair now several times and it doesn't affect him. But you're going to tell me that whatever the hell Sherry has in her purse is going to knock the sucker out?
The lead
Come
purse.
on.
Well, it's not just that though, Brian. The lead purse drops the defenses down, so then the Andre Scoop Slam leg drop combo is what puts him down. He didn't take the boot, you notice. He did because he can't run. So they figured that out. They're like, well, this dude can't run, so we got to do the other thing. The move of the match, in my opinion, is when Savage hits a belly to belly on Hogan. Now that was a big deal to slam Hulk Hogan, and for him to take it that way. And Randy was a big dude, but he wasn't Hulk Hogan size, and he got him over quick. I mean, it looked good. That was one of those great near falls, and you're like, those guys clearly had. And I'll say this too: Savage and Hogan. You talk about somebody that brought good things out of people. Savage brought the best out of Hogan, and really anybody he was with, but Hogan in particular. They would go at each other, and Hogan would take stuff from him that he wouldn't take from other people. Like that would work for him, brother. Like he will go for Savage, where for other people he wouldn't do it.
I think it was that on and off screen chemistry that they had together. Like they went from absolutely hating each other to loving each other so much throughout the career of those two. Like in real life, I'm talking.
I mean, they were like brothers in that way. Yeah.
They fought like they were brothers. Like they wouldn't talk to each other for a while. Then all of a sudden they're best buddies again. And the one thing is that Savage always said, well, if it's good for business, I don't care how much I hate this guy, we'll do it. And that is the best way to think in this business for sure, and he made the most of it. But Savage, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to remember here. Savage hits the flying elbow and Hogan gets up, right?
Yeah, he totally no sells it just like he does at
God.
WrestleMania. I said it was one of the best no sells of all
people
time.
Get so mad today when people hit finishers and kick out. That is the start of it right there.
Yeah. Oh, no. Hulk Hogan is the reason you have that nowadays, kids. And it's that and the proliferation of video games. That's the other reason. I feel like that has influenced wrestling modern in a lot of ways. But that's another day here on the show. But yeah, it's the same kind of finish that we got at WrestleMania 5 when the Mega Plowers had to explode. As we've talked about.
I love that match, I gotta say.
Oh, it's a great match. I think I've talked about it before. It was one of the first things in wrestling I ever saw featured on the sports section of the news.
Yeah.
Like the evening news talked about it, and they gave away the finish, which blows my mind. And now, of course, ESPN does stories about these things, so whatever. But as a kid, you're like, whoa, they told. Like, I can't believe they let them do it. But I guess if it was good for business, Vince was for it too. But no, I mean, yeah, he totally no sells the thing. But that's why I thought like Savage was going to want to eat in the pin because again, he doesn't care. It's not going to hurt him either because he's already lost to Hogan. And I'm with you. If we're going to continue this, why if he beats Zeus, now Zeus has already been proven to be not the dynamic performer in the ring. So what else is there left for him to do? I mean, and you get Elizabeth and Sherry. They had great chemistry together too, where she trips her up, and that's where Beefcake gets Savage out of the way and the ref gets distracted. Which let's talk about how Hogan wins this though, man. This is some heel shit. He hits him with a foreign object, slams him, a leg drops him. I'm like, and if you would have asked Hogan before he passed, he'd probably tell you, see, I was thinking about the NWO even back in them days, brother.
Yeah,
he was. Or if you asked The Rock,
he didn't say he was going to do
when
until.
If you asked The Rock, he thought of it when he was in middle school and called
absolutely.
somebody. But I mean, really, but that is some heel stuff for the way. And if you go back and watch, that's the funny thing. You go back and watch the Hulkamania area, Hulk Hogan. I'm like, it's not all that face, guys. He works like a lot of a heel stuff. His angle's very heel. Like it didn't take much. You just take the yellow off and put the black on, and it's kind of the same stuff, which is funny.
It is, and he didn't do it a ton, but he does do it from time to time, especially against people who are so overpowered on him. Like, right, he does use heel tactics from time to time, and he hits Zeus over the head with this loaded purse that Sherry Martel has, and that's how he gets the win, and the crowd blows up for it. So hey, why not?
That's the thing, though, and the way Hogan always talked about that was, I'm not supposed to use chairs and all that stuff, but you know what? Every now and then, the best guy just gets pushed to the limit. And what do you want? You want the good guy to just rise up and just smack the other person, right? Well, that's what I'm doing it for, brother, which is Steve Austin's entire gimmick.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I get it. It works. I feel that. We all share memes in the group chat about, throwing the boss out the window or whatever. So, but I mean, we all feel that. But it worked because, and you said it there, the crowd went bonkers for it. And they really did. And we kind of picked on the way Shivani and Jesse ribbed each other the entire match. And they indeed did. They both are really working this. Like they've had to put over a lot of garbage tonight. Let's make no doubt. So to finally get here, they are letting the match breathe, but they are also selling the hell out of it.
There are 3 people that I can come up with who can make garbage look like great, or try to convince you it's great. Jesse Ventura, Tony Schiavone, and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah.
You go and watch the first shows that Bobby Heenan did with WCW, and the amount of crap he had to call and talk about how great it was is unbelievable.
Bobby,
he makes you think that you watched the 5-star classic when you watched a 1-star trash.
Was great as a wrestling manager and great as a commentator because he could sell you. He knew how to paint. With those pictures. And look, the best ones do. I have a few friends that work in broadcasting and stuff like that, and they do sports broadcasting. And one of them has worked for a team for years that they're never going to win a national title. They're never going to get it, but they're going to win a game or two here and there. But their fans care about them in a way. And the way Barry sells Troy and what they do it's second to none. And I mean, he can really get you to believe like these guys are incredible. And so I was really, really impressed with the way that they all worked together. I was.
Absolutely.
I was just blown away that the way that it came off again, and two, for Tony being so new to all of it and having to really learn it on the fly. And at the time he's got Vince and Gorilla in his ears in the back, yelling at him the whole time. I mean, nonstop. I mean, you can see the behind the scenes stuff these days. The way these people talk to Michael Cole and everybody out front today, much more tame, like much nicer. Yeah, everybody's much more nice to each other.
Let them do their job.
Yeah, it used to be rough. kids.
No, yeah, I'm sure they're loving it now. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I got to say too, Sherry, total pro. She
Oh
goes in
yeah.
there at the end and lets Brutus Beefcake chop off. It's not her actual hair. Let's
Yeah,
be
it's a
honest
wig.
here.
Yeah.
She put a wig on, and her whole hair, her real hair, is all balled up in the front there. You can see it, and
Yeah.
then you saw the tape marks. That's
Hmm.
where Brutus can cut.
Yeah, I think you see that now in particular because it's all high def and transferred
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. They've cleaned it up. Back in those days, I don't know that I noticed it so well,
Oh
but
no.
at that point, I knew what movies were. It was fine. It was a gimmick. It's most of the people that Brutus cut the hair off of, like it was gone anyway. It wasn't like they were missing one, and they looked better afterward. So you kind of did people favors. But no, I love that too. That she took that at the end. I think my only fantasy rebook again is going to have to deal with the aftermath. Is the fact that I would have kind of let Savage eat the pin because again he wouldn't have cared and it didn't
Yeah.
wasn't going to hurt him if you're going to continue this. And that's where I'm going to throw it to you, Brian. Where did we go
Well,
after this?
here's the thing. I don't think they planned to continue this. I think that this was actually going to be the end of Hogan, Zeus, and everything. And that's why I believe they did have Zeus get pinned. But after getting the buy rates and everything else, they figured this is a winner for us. And they end up bringing him back for Survivor Series of all things, and he gets on a team, right? So Beefcake Savage, it continues, all that stuff. And in December, they decide to try and cash in on everything by holding this pay-per-view event called The Match, the Movie. That's right. You can order on pay-per-view, no holds barred, and watch the entire movie and get a very special only seen on this pay-per-view match between Hulk Hogan, Brutus Beefcake, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and Zeus inside of a steel cage after the movie completes. Oh, I'm sold, right?
No.
No, I don't know that I did very well. I don't know that they ever released numbers on this, but I'm pretty sure it didn't do as good as they were hoping.
I would not believe them if they did. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And also, I have never seen it, and I don't want to. I kind of do, but also I don't.
I think I'm pretty sure I've seen this match, and I think that they released it eventually on one of their home video releases. I don't know if it's like Super
I'm
Tape
sure
or
it's
something
on
like
the
that.
internet now, but yeah,
Oh,
or something.
So
but yeah,
this is the thing, right? You got an hour and a half movie that's let's face it, I love it, but it's pretty bad.
oh look, it's one of those like so bad it's good.
It's good, right?
Yeah, but you got to watch it with other people. You watch it by yourself, like you're not going to appreciate it the same way.
Well,
It's a
I would,
funny
but
laugh.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, same.
You watch this whole movie, an hour and a half, only because you want to see the match. They give you less than 10 minutes in the ring for this match.
But who we're talking about? Remember, Randy's already carried these bumps from 15. He's not going to do it
It's
again.
a steel cage match. You could do so much stuff in a steel cage match to make this thing actually worth watching, but they don't.
One would think, but
Yeah, they don't.
no.
So anyway, this match goes 9 minutes and 7 seconds. This is the first time in the Hulk Hogan era where a steel cage match could end with a pinfall. The rules were
What?
both members of your team had to escape the cage,
Right.
or you can win by pinfall or submission. And there you go. Hogan wins by freaking pinfall.
I mean, I think you
Disappointing.
kind of want it to go that way. Like, you kind of want him to win, like, eventually pin the dude. But he's already done it, since he's already done it once. But maybe you do. But in a cage match, if cage match is supposed to be the blow-off match of the
Yeah.
era, right? Everybody's got to be decimated, and your heroes just make it out alive, and after vanquishing the devil, basically.
Yes, it would have been much better if they had it where Savage has escaped, Beefcake has escaped. Now it's Hogan left to battle Zeus alone, because that's what
Right.
everyone wants to see, right? And then somehow he's able to escape the cage and win the match. But
Can I posit a theory? Is that when they tested and they knew, like, look,
This isn't gonna work.
Tommy cannot do this. Like, Tiny is for a lot of things, but if we leave him alone with Hogan, Terry might kill him. Like, he might get bad enough and hit him, or he might get his teeth knocked out because the shot putter may have enough. I don't know. Like, I think they realized, like, this guy cannot be by himself, and this cannot be left to his own devices out there. You got to
I
put
don't
somebody with him because it's not. It's like that one time on Van Halen 3 when they let Eddie sing lead. Like, that should have never
Oh,
happened.
dear
Like,
God, no.
especially with Gary Sharon hanging around. Like,
I
no, we
think
don't.
they did it again on Different Kind of Truth too.
They did. And
Ugh,
yeah, yeah, because, the other singers aren't
it
aren't
went
good
well.
enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyway, I mean, I don't think that's why you would have him do that. This is not somebody you could leave alone. So you gotta sell it another way. But that shouldn't have happened. It should have ended at SummerSlam.
It should have. It should have. Unfortunately, it did not. And unfortunately, it does not end here,
I
guys. Now it's
know.
WWF. The WWF is done with Zeus. Like,
Yeah.
he makes an appearance again, I think, at the Royal Rumble in a promo, but that was it. No more Zeus.
They're trying to
Um,
sell the home video at that point of the movie because it's out of
yeah,
theaters.
pretty much. But miraculously, somehow, some way, Hogan convinces Eric Bischoff in WCW to bring back Zeus for one more confrontation. But they can't call him Zeus because that's a WWF trademark. So they go with the name Z Gangster.
I think this is because it's on the heels of Friday. Like, that has become a thing. And we would know who Debo was. So because
Maybe.
Friday was 95. So, okay, we're going to cash in on that. And so we'll put him in the flannel, like he looks like a Crip or whatever, which this guy was the furthest thing from all of that. But okay. I guess all we can do is just thank Ice Cube because he's the one that put him in that movie and gave him that role. So,
Well, it's one thing. It's bad enough that they're bringing him back.
yeah.
But they're bringing him back for probably the most insanely stupid, idiotic idea that WCW has ever come up with: the Doomsday Cage match at Uncensored. What is a Doomsday Cage match, you might ask?
Yeah, I tell you what. No, don't tell us. This is just a future episode. Just go ahead and
Oh,
pin
yeah.
that right now. We will come back to that. So,
We will come back to that. We'll come.
well, as we say in the intro, we cover good and bad, and so across various eras of professional wrestling. So, wow, what a wild tale. I mean, it is like you want to just kind of keep recreating something that wasn't a hit, but you're just going to keep doing it anyway. It's like if Motley Crue had released an all acoustic album for some reason, like I think they were on Unplugged once or something, like they knew like that's not really their format, but if they just kept doing it, like because there's some things you shouldn't stray into. Hogan and Savage, sure, yeah, you keep doing that forever. I mean, and they did.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. But that's fine. And then where Hogan goes to after this, because he pivots to the Ultimate Warrior, as we talked about. Like that was the next big thing, and they were gonna strap the rocket on the Warrior. And
Shockingly enough, WCW pivots to the Ultimate Warrior 2 after this.
yeah, the Flash
Couple
paper
years down the road.
as it is known. I mean, at least he was tan enough, So we'll give him that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was nowhere else to go in this feud, and I argue there wasn't a lot to begin with as you listen to that movie.
The only thing they should have or could have done is really built up a singles match between Zeus and Hogan at the WrestleMania event. But again, I think because, like you mentioned, Tiny was just so limited, there's no way to get a good match out of that.
And he's already eaten the pin. Like he's already lost
twice.
And to have stretched this from August at this point, September to the next April that movie would have had to been the smash hit of the year. And at that point, it's almost out of theaters. Like it didn't last that long. So I don't think it was there, man. So,
No,
I mean, if it had
definitely
been,
was not.
They might have tried it, but the mishandling of it is that Zeus loses 1, 2, 3 to Hogan.
Yeah.
So now there's no threat because he can be beaten, foreign object or no. He still has to take 2 more moves to go down after that. So the foreign object was just, the every man getting his comeuppance.
I'm with you on that. There's definitely nowhere to go after you've already pinned him clean in the ring twice.
Yeah, and especially now after the special. Only at the end of this terrible movie can you watch this also terrible match. Like there's nothing else to do at the end of that. So but it doesn't surprise me that Eric Bischoff tried to run that back because that sums up most of his creative decisions in that era. But you know what? Hey, it worked, man. Because hey, you think nostalgia plays today? It always has, baby. So you play on that all day. So that's it. Again, I remind everyone, this is a carnival business, and carnivals have been around a long time.
And they know what they're doing.
And they do, and they will still get it going forward. So, but hey, it's been fun revisiting this one with you. It's always fun to get one that's, not some classic Dave Meltzer 6-star match. I like those too, but sometimes it's fun to watch some of these absolute train wrecks happen, and what they're surrounded with too, which was also a show that was figuring out what it was going to be. This is the second SummerSlam ever. It went over huge. People loved it. Again, there's matches on it that people are going to like. That opening tag match is awesome. Warrior getting it back on, from Rude was a big deal at the time because he was the biggest, mid card guy on the roster, and he was so over. And then you got other stuff that people were into. On the match, there were some young stars on this thing that were going to be stars of the '90s. They hadn't quite peaked yet. So, for that purpose, I think it's worth putting an eye on. And then just the absolute kitsch value of it's just like the movie. Like it's so bad, it's good. You have to see it. Like I would tell people, definitely go watch it. It's worth it because as a pay-per-view, it goes down in about 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's not that bad.
No, not at all. Right. And oh, man, watching these shows just brings back so much memories from my childhood. And I love it. Even if the show sucked, it's just fun.
It does take you back to a time when you didn't know all of it,
And you didn't think it sucked back then.
Yeah, you thought it was cool. I mean, that's what was funny. I was transported too. I was like, I remember when I thought all this was so cool. It's like, oh, I wish I could be that innocent again. So
yeah. Stupid wrestling. No.
Stupid adulthood. But anyway, we're glad to revisit the childhood, either ours or maybe yours. If you're a listener here on this, you'll find this show on this very feed from time to time. The Juice Box. Really appreciate Juice for letting us do this. Feel free to connect with Juice Springsteen on Twitter X at Juicy Steen, on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet, and subscribe on YouTube as well. Juicy Steen. Juice has got all kinds of shows. The regular Juice Box show. He's got different guests on from time to time, always putting over great stuff, and is out there on other shows as well. And if you're following Juice when he goes to live events and stuff like that, hook up with him, tag up with him. He loves that, and just a lot of fun, and always fun talking about it. Of course, subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you find it. And hey, if you can, swing by, leave us a review, leave a rating. We appreciate the support, and share the show on your socials as well. It helps other people find it.
Yeah, and if you want to follow Jay or myself, you can do so on X. He is at JRan here, and I am at Brian Thomas 878. Send us your thoughts on the episode, suggestions for future episodes you'd like to hear us cover. We've got a list of things we want to cover, but we're open to adding to that list. Always good.
Absolutely. So for Brian, I'm Jay. This has been your main event.